Right.
From them making money, they're profiting from the money because the government is issuing them these orders to create money, and then the government has to pay the interest on the money that they are creating.
Right.
So it's a scam. The government itself is scammed in this situation.
It's like they're scamming themselves almost.
Exactly. No, but they're really scamming the people.
Right.
Federal Reserve needs to go away.
Information is free.
The law.
There is hope.
The Johnny Rocket Launchpad. And now, here's Johnny.
Hey, it's Johnny Rocket here at the Johnny Rocket Launchpad, always launching ideas in your direction, the Northwest only rock and roll libertarian radio show. I'm here with my co-host, Mr. Curtin Nelson.
Yes, sir.
My voice of reason, the beautiful Heather Nixon.
Hello, how are you?
And we're always launching ideas in your direction. You can check us out at NWCZ every Friday, 4 to 6 p.m. and on Saturdays, 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. And we have a very special guest. We have him for a limited amount of time, but he is an economic, financial broker and dealer, author, frequent guest on national news, host of the Peter Schiff Show. Is a weekly podcast along with his daily 2-hour podcast, which he focuses in on economic data, analysis, and unbiased coverage of financial news. He is entertaining as well as informative. I welcome Peter Schiff!
Yeah, thanks. You know, I don't do my podcast now is not daily. My radio show is 2 hours a day. I just do my podcast intermittently. I had to give the radio show up because I didn't have the 2 hours a day live anymore. My schedule was too busy, but it's the same, website, schiffradio.com. It's just now the podcast rather than the radio show.
I've been following you since about 2008.
Yeah, well, that's when it happened. So I was predicting it years before that.
2006, 2007.
But the bad news is a worse collapse is coming. That was just a warm up. The main event is yet to happen.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
When do you predict that's going to happen?
Well, I can't predict the exact time that it's going to start. I can just say in the scheme of things, it's going to happen soon. But, it might not happen until next year or the year after that. But I think it's pretty close. I mean, it could happen before the end of this year. But, it's difficult to time when a bunch of people are going to suddenly figure something out because it's all about confidence. Once a significant number of people realize, what's actually going on with the U.S. economy, what the Fed is likely to do, then I think the bottom is going to drop out of the dollar. But the question is, when are enough people going to wake up to reality?
You sent me something about classic gold scams. And $300 million are lost to these gold scams. Can you talk to us about this? Because we're not experts on this stuff, but we'd like to let our listeners hear about this.
Yeah, I have no idea, how much money is lost. I mean, I don't know where you got your $300 million. I mean, maybe that's accurate, but I mean, it's so unfortunate that so many people are taken advantage of in the gold market. There's basically, there's two kinds of firms. There's, firms out there that, are fair and charge a fair markup, like my company, Schiff Gold. I mean, we mark our products up generally in the 1% to 2% range. So, you buy $10,000 worth of gold, maybe you pay me $200,
Right.
And you get your $10,000 worth of gold. I mean, it's not bad, right? I mean, we earn, we do a lot of work to get you to earn the $200. But then you have the firms out there that sell you $10,000 worth of gold, but charge you anywhere from $4,000 to $10,000 to do it. And that's unfortunately all the firms that most people have heard of. Those are the firms that rip everybody off because there's not that many people that buy gold, right? It's still a relatively small marketplace. And so if you're going to advertise on television, if you're going to advertise on talk radio, if you're going to pay millions of dollars to talk radio show hosts, to recommend your firm, the only way to get that money back is to rip off your customers. And unfortunately, that is the business model of just about every gold company that advertises on the radio or on television. They're ripping everybody off.
Right.
And, and what they do is they count on the fact that the customer trusts the radio show host that recommended the company because they think the radio show host is, being honest and just looking out for their listeners and recommending the company because they're the best, when in fact they're just recommending them because they're paying them a lot of money. And they generally don't disclose this, and people have no idea. But, we came out with that special report on classic gold scams, and we go over the most popular scams that these companies use to separate their clients from their money.
And you have a thing called avoid numismatic coins. Am I saying that correctly?
Numismatic. Yeah. I mean, those are collectible coins. And if you want to be a coin collector, I mean, that's one thing. I mean, there are people who want to collect rare things, right? Rare memorabilia, rare paintings, rare cars, stamps, baseball cards.
Right on.
And so there are gold coins that are legitimately rare, right? There's not a lot of them. And in general, to have numismatic value, not only does the coin have to be rare, but it has to be in good condition, usually uncirculated, right? So that, it's basically never been in somebody's pocket. It's been in a safe for its entire existence, right? So it's pristine, right? And so these things have value to collectors. But what happens is these companies try to convince people, instead of buying bullion coins, which would be like a Maple Leaf or a Cougarand or just a common coin that was just minted, they'll try to get people to buy some of these older coins and claim that, well, they have some special value, you're going to make more money in this rare coin. But these coins are not generally rare. They're not valuable to collectors because they're not in great condition. But what it enables these companies to do is they mark these things up 40, 50, 60, sometimes above 100%. Meaning you buy a coin for $1,000 and you're getting $500 worth of gold. And then, let's say the price of gold goes up 50%, and then you go to sell your coin, you find out that, your coin is still worth 25% less than you paid or something like that.
Right.
And it's very frustrating for the investor when they get ripped off. I mean, I own a stock brokerage firm too, right? And if somebody wanted to buy, let's say, a share of stock, and let's say this, they wanted to buy some IBM, right?
Right.
And let's say, I don't know, forget about the price. Let's say IBM is $100 a share. I don't even know what it is, but would you buy that stock for me if I said, okay, I'm going to sell you IBM, it's $100 a share, and my commission is $100 a share?
Right.
I mean, it's like, the stock would have to double for you to make your money back.
Exactly.
Yet people will buy $1,000 worth of gold and then pay $1,000 commission.
That's crazy. Right.
And how are you going to make any money? I mean, you can't. I mean, the only people that make money are the companies that are ripping people off. And generally, they have a high pressure sale because nobody calls up to buy numismatics. They want to buy gold, right? They want gold. And it's the salesman pressures them into buying numismatics. In fact, many of these companies, the way they pay their brokers is they don't even make a commission if they let you buy a regular gold coin. They only get paid if they can talk you into buying a numismatic or a rare coin or something like that.
Wow.
So if you call up and just buy a Maple Leaf, the broker gets nothing. So they are under incredible pressure because these guys work on commission. So if somebody calls up, right, and they want to send in $10,000 to buy some gold, if they can convince you to buy these overpriced coins, right, they'll make $5,000 commission, let's say, out of your 10. Whereas if you just buy $10,000 worth of Cougarans, they don't make anything. So believe me, they have a huge pressure because, out of that $5,000 commission, maybe they get $2,000 for themselves. So, hey, talk the client into buying this. I make $2,000. If he buys what's actually good for him, I make nothing, or I make maybe I make $50 or $100. I mean, so these guys got families to feed.
Yeah.
But it's unfortunate because, a lot of good people listen to talk radio and they get taken in by this. They lose money. I mean, most people today, if you bought gold, 4 or 5 years ago when it was $500-$600 an ounce, even though it's $1,200 an ounce now, if you bought from anybody advertising on television, on Fox News, or on Glenn Beck's radio show or the Rush Limbaugh or any of these big shows, if you bought gold, even though the price of gold has gone way up, you're still down.
Right.
If you sold your gold, even though gold is up 50%, you'd still lose money.
Because you paid 100% more.
Or even if you paid 40 or 50% more. I mean, that's a huge markup.
Sure.
Right.
Huge markup.
One of the other things you talk about in the article is regarding the leverage accounts and the pressure that they get people to try and invest more money than they have. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, leverage is another one of these scams because what happens is, let's say somebody calls up and they got $5,000 and they want to buy some gold, right? The broker might say, hey, don't buy $5,000 worth of gold, buy $20,000 worth of gold, right? We'll lend you the money so you can buy more gold.
Ah, nice.
Okay.
Right. But then what happens is they charge you the commission on the 20,000, right? So let's say the commission and let's say the commission is higher. Let's say they're charging 4%, right? So if they were charging you 4% of $5,000, that would be maybe what, $200.
Right.
But if they can get 4% of $20,000, now it's $800. But
Sure.
what's 800 relative to your 500? That's a huge percentage of your 500. So you put 5,000 in, and then they take 800 away for commission. But now they start charging you interest on the money you borrowed because they loaned you $15,000, and now they're charging you interest, and you have to pay that interest. And eventually, you know, if gold just goes sideways for a couple of years, how much money have you lost in interest? And if gold goes down a little bit, then you get a margin call. And all of a sudden that you started out with 5,000, now they call you up and say, hey, you got to send another 2,000 in. Well, what if you don't have it? Well, now they have to sell you out and you lose. So there's a lot of risk, you know, when you're using leverage, and you end up paying a huge commission. And that is why the firms want to lever you up, because they charge the commission on the levered amount, not on the amount that you actually send in.
Wow.
Interesting.
And so
you're actually borrowing money to pay a commission.
You're right. Exactly. How much should an individual invest, though, in gold? I mean, what's your recommendation?
Well, first of all, if you're going to invest in gold through these big companies that rip you off, the answer is zero, right? It never makes sense to pay, you know, $1,000 to get $500 worth of gold or $700 worth of gold. But if you're going to do it the right way, right? And I'm not the only firm, you know, and if people go and they download my special report, it's free, goldscams.com. You know, you'll know what to look out for. And if you happen to call one of these firms that tries to rip you off, you know, if they try anything that's on this list, then you'll know that, you know, not to deal with them.
Okay.
But the legitimate firms that are out there, yeah, like my firm, Schiff Gold, sure, you should have 5 to 10% of your portfolio in physical gold, right? So if you've got $1 million in liquid assets that you're investing in stocks and bonds, right? Mm-hmm. You should have maybe $100,000, $50,000 to $100,000 in gold and silver. Have some physical precious metals, just in case. You know,
right.
I mean, it's gold. It's not, you know, over time, it's going to go up in value relative to dollars, but you never know. You know, you never know what's going to happen. And, you know, it's better than keeping your money in cash, getting no interest. And,
right,
and you know,
exactly.
Mr. Schiff, where would you say we're at with the incline of gold? I know, like you said, gold is up 50% right now. Is it still rising? And would you expect that it's going to continue to rise for some time?
Well, gold rose for about 12 years straight, from 2000 through 2013 or 2012. Right. And it was up a lot more than, you know, it went from about $250, $260 an ounce up to a high of close to $1,900. So it had a huge run. Now it's since pulled back and it's under 1,200. And so it's been declining for 2 or 3 years. And I think it's, you know, in the process of building a base, I don't expect it to go significantly lower than it is now. I mean, I could be wrong. I mean, maybe gold could pull back to 1,100 or 1,000.
Sure.
But, you know, I'm not betting on it. I do think that gold is going to go back above the 1,900. I think it's going to go to 2,000, 5,000 or higher. But even if you put money in gold in the year 2000 and where it is now at 1,200, you know, you're way ahead of people who bought the Dow or the NASDAQ at that time or the S&P 500. So since, you know, so far in this century or this millennium, owning gold has been better than owning stocks, even though gold has pulled back from 1,900 to 1,200. Based on where it is right now, the return on gold has been much better than the return on U.S. stocks.
Wow.
Over that time period.
So for somebody who, you know, doesn't have a lot of money to invest, I would think that investing in coins is a good way to start out. What do you think about having coins graded, especially newly minted coins?
Well, first of all, there's no reason. That's one of the scams that's out there where companies grade a newly minted coin. If the coin was just minted and you're getting it right from the mint, it's in perfect condition, right? I mean, so you don't need to grade a brand new coin because they're all going to have a perfect grade. Yeah, exactly. So you only have to, a grading is important. If you buy a coin that's, let's say, 100 years old, okay, yeah, you got to grade it because, it could have been dangling around in somebody's pocket. It could be all banged
Right,
up. I mean, people
right.
could have been playing poker with it, or they could have been, playing that game where you toss the coins against the wall. I mean, who knows? Maybe they were in slot machines.
Right,
who knows
right,
how much?
yeah.
I mean, they get beat up and stuff. So you got to grade it, because what makes a coin valuable is not only is it rare, it's old and it's rare, but it's in great condition. It didn't get beat up like a lot of other coins, right? It was like kept in somebody's sock drawer and it was never, circulating. But if the coin was just minted, nothing bad has happened to it. So a lot of these companies will sell you these graded brand new coins. And again, they charge a huge premium for it. It's a complete waste. So the only time you need a grading is if you're actually buying numismatic coins, which I don't recommend that you do unless you're just a collector, unless you know something about the coins, and you're going to go to coin shows, and you're going to, because even buying numismatic coins directly retail, I mean, you want to go to trade shows. You want to try to go to auctions. I mean, you buy them retail. The markup is so hard. I mean, high. If you're going to pay a 50, 60, 70%, 100% markup to buy a rare coin, you better like that coin.
Right,
Because
exactly.
the chances of you selling it at a profit are pretty slim.
It's more
so you better
cause.
you better enjoy having it in your collection, right? As a showpiece.
Right.
But if your main goal is to protect yourself against inflation, to protect, against the loss of purchasing power, to have a liquid coin, then you don't want to, get involved in numismatics. It's like if you wanted to buy wood, you wouldn't buy a rare Chippendale chair,
Right,
just
exactly.
because it's made of wood.
Right.
I mean, because you're going to have to pay this huge premium to get this antique chair. I mean, if you want wood, just buy wood. So if you want gold, don't buy, a 100-year-old coin that, has a rare, mint mark on it, or, with some, maybe there's somebody upside down or something funny about it, or,
Right.
because it doesn't matter, because some of these coins there are numismatic coins. Let's say they have, $1,000 worth of gold in them. And the coin might be worth $50,000, $100,000. The fact that it's made of gold is immaterial. The
Right.
$100,000 is about the rarity. The price of gold
Sure.
could triple. It doesn't really affect
It's-
the value of that coin.
It's actual bullion value.
Yeah, the bullion value is minimal. So when
Right.
you want to invest in bullion, you want to buy a coin where almost all the value is in the bullion. Because if you buy a coin that's worth $50,000, it has $1,000 worth of bullion. Let's say the price of gold doubles. I mean, the $50,000 coin could go down to $40,000 during that time. It doesn't really matter, because the value of the gold is secondary to the demand for that particular coin. So you want to buy a coin that's all gold and very little premium above its melt value,
Right.
so that it's going to move with the price of gold. So if you buy like a Maple Leaf or a Cougaran, and gold is, a $1,200 an ounce, and if gold goes up $100 an ounce, then your coin has gone up $100 in value. So it's gonna move exactly with the price of gold.
But Mr. Schiff, what about the upcoming gold confiscation? They're going to take all our gold. The government is, right?
Well, I mean, that's what a lot of these merchants try to say, is they say, hey, you need to buy gold, but you better not buy normal gold, because the government's going to steal that. So you got to buy this special gold that they can't seize, which I think is all nonsense. I mean, if the government's going to seize gold, they're going to seize everything.
Right, they're going to seize your car and your house.
They're not
and stuff.
gonna-
They're not picky about what they steal.
Mr. T is in trouble then, right?
And a lot of these coins, though, that they claim are numismatic are not really numismatic coins. They're very common coins. And so, I doubt they'd be exempt from confiscation. But I also don't think the government's going to be confiscating your gold, because they go back to the 1930s when Roosevelt confiscated the gold. But the reason Roosevelt did that is because he had to, because we were on a gold standard. All Americans had gold. All of our currency was backed by gold. And the dollar, was officially valued at $20 was 1 ounce of gold. Well, in order for Roosevelt to devalue the dollar, he had to take all the gold away from everybody, and then he devalued to $35 an ounce. So he had to seize the gold first, because we're on a gold standard. Well, we're not on a gold standard anymore. The dollar has no value. They can print as many of them as they want. I mean,
Okay, right
they didn't
on.
have look at all the quantitative easing programs they did. They didn't confiscate anything to do quantitative easing. They printed trillions of dollars. They didn't take anybody's gold.
Yep.
Right.
If we were on a gold standard, they couldn't do that. They couldn't print all that money unless they first took everybody's gold, and
Nothing
even
to
then they
back it.
couldn't print that much. So times are different. different. The government doesn't have to seize your gold. They can just print money and seize your purchasing power, which is why you want to own gold, to prevent them from doing that to you.
Yeah, exactly. And that's a tax on the people by printing more and more money. It
Right, it's an
takes the
inflation
value.
tax.
Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
And it
Yeah.
just baffles me that people just don't understand basic economics. And this is kind of one of the things that we do on the show, Mr. Schiff, is we try to teach people who don't know about economics the fundamentals of if something is more rare or has scarcity, that's why it has value. And
I have another report too that people can download for free that explains how inflation is a tax and how it how it erodes away your wealth. You can go to my website taxedbydebt.com.
all right.
Taxedbydebt.com, and because the debt is where the inflation is coming from, because the Federal Reserve prints money to buy up Treasury debt, right? So it's all this debt, that all the money the federal government has borrowed. Nobody can repay it, so the Fed has to print money to monetize it, otherwise known as quantitative easing. And so that's why we call it. It's inflation is a tax because of debt. So rather than tax to death, it's tax by debt. But that's a free. that's
awesome.
It's a free report, and you can just download it, just like the gold scams.
Is that a report by your company?
Yeah, I wrote it.
Nice.
Taxedbydebt.com.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, Mr. Schiff, we love your radio show, schiffradio.com.
Yep.
And your website is schiffgold.com, and there's a phone number, 188-GOLD-160. Is that correct?
That is, I believe so, yes.
Awesome. Awesome. And it was been an absolute honor to have you on this show.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yes, thank you.
And we don't know anything about gold, but now I feel like I can have an intellectual conversation about
Well,
it.
I know who to call. That's right.
There you go. You got
Call
it.
188-GOLD-160.
Fantastic.
And I'm sure somebody will take care of you. And any other products you have at schiffgold.com?
Well, gold and silver. I mean, we
Okay.
have all sorts of bars and coins, but the one thing you can be assured of is you're not going to get pushed into numismatics because we don't sell them.
Right on.
And you're going to get a low markup, and we have some of the lowest prices online. Even online discount brokers, we still beat their prices a lot of the time. I mean, not always, but the prices are very, very reasonable at Euro Pacific. Or no, at Schiff Gold. It's Schiff Gold. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm like, hopefully you promote your own.
Well, no,
own
it
business.
used to be called Euro Pacific Precious Metals, but
okay.
I guess it was too long a word to write out on the check, so they changed it to Schiff Gold.
Fair enough.
Right
Fair
on.
enough.
Right on. Anyways, let's give it up for Peter Schiff. Thank you very much, sir. We appreciate it. This is Johnny Rocket, always launching ideas in your direction. The Northwest's only rock and roll libertarian radio show. We are honored to have Peter Schiff on the show. Thank you, sir.
Hey, anytime.
Anyways, it's Johnny Rocket, always launching ideas in your direction. We're going to head next up. We have Billy's Burns, whatever chaps his ass. And we have Paul Addis coming on the show. Well, actually, you're going to find out what he's all about now. So stick around.
He's about the barbecue.